back to my channel. Let's get into the Real Housewives season 16, episode 10. Alright, so the episode starts with Shamea sitting down with Ralph, Drew's estranged husband, which is absolutely insane to me. Ralph asks Shamea how the kids are doing. Shamea says that Shia is doing good. Again, why these two are even having dinner together. Then Ralph gets into his podcast, which he doesn't even know the name of his podcast, y'all. He has to look in his phone to see what the name is. I think it's the Kings and Queens podcast. So he's setting it up to be like him and Shamea are sitting down to talk about this podcast, because Shamea was on one episode of his podcast with Candy's husband Todd. Be so for real. Shamea then gets into how she can help Ralph out with this podcast. Again, I don't really know how she can help him with this podcast, y'all. I'm not understanding. It really is given. We just needed to come up with something so we could get back at Drew. We then cut to Shamea's confessional, where she sits down and says she sees nothing wrong with her sitting down with Ralph. Girl. It's just giving Shamea really has bird energy to me. And I'm not really messing with it. Shamea then gets messy and is like, well, people want to know. People want to know what's going on between Dennis, Porsha's baby daddy, and Drew. Again, insinuating that Drew and Dennis have something more going on in the music. It's wild to me. Then Shamea starts talking about how it's sad to her that Drew and Ralph's relationship is crumbling and that they are, divorcing each other. Again, contradicting herself. Like, Shamea, you just said you wanted to know all the tea about Dennis and Drew, but at the same time you're sad that Drew and Ralph aren't working things out. I'm not following. Again, bird brain energy. Then Porsha asks Ralph who filed first, him or Drew. Ralph claims that he filed for separation or divorce first, whatever. We know that's a lie. In the court documents, it says Drew filed first. That's what the streets is saying. So he's lying again. And Porsha asked him, why did he file? Like, what was the reason he wanted to split from Drew? And Ralph says that he filed because he found out that Drew was having an affair and cheating on him with Ty. Now, Ty is who we know from, well, I know her from Love and Hip Hop. She used to date Mimi Fowles. She's a retired WNBA player. She now is on Basketball Wives dating Mingli. So Ty hops from reality show to reality show, but I do believe that her and Drew has something going on, because in previous seasons, like 2 seasons back, the ladies were bringing that up. I do think it's some truth to what Ralph is saying, but I do think he cheated first. Then this conversation gets really weird because Porsha asks Ralph, have you ever sniffed a woman? Further showing Porsha is a 304, period. She is like, who asks somebody that, let alone somebody who's married to your supposed co-worker, friend, whatever you want to call Drew. You know the lady, and it's just doing too much. But Ralph ends up saying no, he's never done that. Then we get into like a few seconds of Shamea and Porsha getting into it slightly. And Shamea brings up that the ladies are kind of having an issue with her because she defends Porsha to no end. And we cut to Shamea's confessional, and she basically confirms that she does do that, but Porsha never asked her to do that. So Shamea, you kind of looking goofy on your own. But they reference pretty much the situation with Charles and what Porsha said about him at the pool. Overall, this scene was full of birds. It was bird brain behavior. All 3 of them are goofies to me at this table. And they're weird. Like, the whole situation, the whole sit down was weird. It was a get back at Drew. And I'm really just not effing with it. Like, I don't like that type of behavior. So, moving right along. We then get to see Angela at one of her rental properties. She's about to link up with Kelly. This is after Cynthia's Bailey Q. So we know that at the Bailey Q, Kelly was kind of talking her SHIT with Britt, saying, you need to worry about that baby. You need to worry about the outside baby. Referencing Charles Oakley allegedly having a baby outside of his marriage with Angela. But we do learn that Angela has 5 investment properties that she's trying to sell. She says she has not sold any of them, y'all. None. I was like, girl, are you good at this real estate thing? But she's got 5 properties she needs to get off her back. She did say one of them is 2.9 mil, one is 1.5 mil, and another is 800,000. And she mentioned that she is $2 million in debt. So Angela needs to sell some houses. She needs to sell some houses, and she needs to sell them quickly. But yeah, so Kelly ends up coming over. We know this scene is orchestrated by production. Kelly is not going to buy no house from Angela, but it's a good setup. In the last episode, Kelly was talking about how she needs a bigger space for all of her girls since they're in this townhouse. She came from like a 7,000 square foot home, so she needs something bigger. So it's a good little setup, but we know it's just for the scene. Kelly then brings up how she feels bad about the comments she made at Cynthia's Bailey Q about Charles' alleged outside baby. So she says she feels bad about that. Angela's kind of like, girl, no you don't. No you don't. But Angela shows her around the house. A lot of it is not done, but again, this is all just for the scene, so we don't really care. Like, we don't. But Kelly makes her few little jokes about how the pool ain't got no water in it. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Moving on. They then sit down for the real nitty-gritty of the scene, and Kelly's asking her how long have her and Charles been married. And Angela lets her know they've been married for 8 years, together for 10 years. I was kind of trying to do some math with that because her kids are young. So I was just trying to do some math because he do got that other kid. It's another son that we saw in that intro, that first episode. So we got to go back and do some research on how many kids Charles really got. But considering Kelly did make comments about this alleged outside baby, Angela's like, well, do you know something? Do you know something? Because you and Britt and everybody else seems to keep making comments about what's going on with me and Charles and this alleged outside baby. And Kelly's like, girl, that's just what the street's saying. That's what the street's saying. So clear it up. So Angela decides to clear it up. She has this elaborate story. I don't know if I believe it or not, but she starts talking about how when Charles had a segment with Wendy Williams, after the segment was done, Angela went up to her and said, it's just a baby. In reference to when Wendy Williams got cheated on and her husband had a baby on her. So Angela goes up to this lady she don't even know and says, it's just a baby. No, it's not just a baby. It's infidelity. And on top of that, reproduction of the infidelity. What are you talking about? It's not just a baby. And the fact that she said that lets me know everything I need to know about her mindset. She would definitely take Charles back if he did have an outside baby on her, allegedly. And we already know that there was infidelity in their relationship because she confirms that to Kelly later on in this scene. So, Angela, you're not fooling me. You're not. But yeah, once Angela tells Wendy Williams it's just a baby, she then goes on to try to do some sisterly SHIT and is like, you know, you should take him back. I've been through the same thing. And Angela claims that Wendy Williams just took that and ran with it and believed that Angela was talking about Charles. Now, Angela claims she wasn't talking about Charles. She was talking about her daughter's father, who she was with prior to Charles, and that he ended up having a baby on her. They were pregnant at the same time. So Angela's claiming, I wasn't talking about Charles. I was talking about my first baby daddy. Who knows? The truth will come out, though, as this season prevails. We will see. Moving on, Angela then asks Kelly, has she talked to Shamea? And Kelly says no, she hasn't talked to her since the Bailey Q. And they both get into how they thought that Shamea was much closer to Porsha than they thought. And they thought it was weird that Shamea had conversations with Angela and Drew after the Bailey Q. They all went out to dinner, I believe. And Shamea had some conversations with them about her friendship with Porsha and how she doesn't like certain things that have gone down in their friendship. Basically that Porsha did not come to her wedding and that Shamea was very, very hurt by that. And Angela's like, to Kelly, I told Shamea that you need to have this conversation with her. Like, you having this conversation with us. You need to go have this conversation with her. Because clearly you still have a lot of pent up animosity. So that was kind of the end of that scene. But I do agree, Shamea, you should not have sat down with Drew at all. Angela is one thing, but to sit down with Drew and talk about Porsha, knowing Porsha has had an issue with Drew all season, is crazy. It's crazy, and it is making you look... It's making you look a little sideways, my friend. A little sideways. Next up, the next scene we see is Britt and her husband. I'm skipping that because, again, I don't really care about Britt's scenes. Moving on. We then see Angela and Porsha linking up to play tennis. And Angela's so funny. She's like, I am not inviting Porsha over to my house after the comments that she made about my husband. So they end up going to one of Angela's rental properties to play tennis. And I thought that was not only hilarious, but factual. I would have did the same thing. Like, you are not welcome in my home ever in life. We know what Porsha will do when she visits people's homes, i.e. Fallon, i.e. Simon. So I'm with Angela 100%. You're not coming to my house. Nope. No, ma'am. We will meet at this rental property. period. But they ended up playing tennis for a little bit, and I think they tied. So it was a match, they tied, and then they end up sitting down and have a little conversation. Porsha asked about her daughter and how her daughter is doing, and that she heard, you know, that her daughter just got married. And Angela is like, yeah, me and my daughter, I want to have a better connection with her because she hid that from me. I find out that the daughter married a woman. So I'm like, is that why she didn't want to tell her family? Because she married a woman? That may be why. They didn't really get into that, but that may be why. But Angela's just like, she wants to move forward with her daughter and have a more open relationship. Now, moving forward in the conversation, Porsha drops that she's going to be sending invites out to her Pampered by Porsha event that she's having. We all know Pampered by Porsha is her bedding line. So she's having a little event to showcase her bedding. And she says, Angela, you'll be getting an invite soon. And we're going to see the event at the end of the episode. But back to the convo, they start discussing Drew. And Angela's like, is there any way we can mend you and Drew? Can we fix what y'all had going on? And Porsha takes that opportunity to let Angela know that her and Shamea actually went to dinner with Ralph. And Angela's like, girl, what? No way you did that. Porsha said that Dennis showed her text messages of Drew basically coming at him, trying to sleep with him. And Dennis allegedly says Drew run me my money. Now, when Porsha showed those text messages to Ralph and Shamea at the dinner earlier in the episode, you couldn't see the messages. So it makes me feel like there were no real messages there to show. Now, Angela's just like, girl, what? There's no possible way. But she's gung-ho on the fact that she could fix Porsha and Drew's relationship. So Porsha and her giggle about it a little bit, and Portia's like, girl, no. Because Drew talked about my child. Absolutely not. And Angela's like, when did Drew talk about your child? When did Drew talk about Pilar? And Portia's like, well, Shamea told me that when y'all were all at the studio, Drew was saying that she could pay for Pilar's college. Whoop, 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 whoop. Angela is like, hold on. That's not how Drew said that. Drew said it in a joking manner. Like, it wasn't like, I'm gonna pay for Pilar's college. Like, it was a joking manner. And Portia's like, oh, Shamea conveyed it to me like Drew was being dead serious. Angela takes this opportunity to let Porsha know that Shamea had conveyed some information about their friendship to her and Drew. And Portia's like, okay, she's a little lost at this point. And Angela says that they all sat down for dinner after that Bailey Q. The same thing she basically told Kelly. And that Shamea is still upset about the fact that Porsha did not go to her wedding in Kenya. And that Shamea believes that Porsha never really wanted her on the cast as a full-time housewife. Portia's like, hold on. That's not true. I showed Shamea a whole list of all the ladies I would have wanted as a cast for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And she was on it. So Portia's like confused, like, I don't understand. Then Porsha gets into another reason is because Gerald, who is Shamea's husband, never wanted to film. So that's why Shamea was never a full-time housewife. And Angela's like, girl, the fact I know about this means it's still bothering Shamea. And Porsha is like, what? Like, she's caught off guard. Porsha is caught off guard by this. Angela also adds that Shamea didn't say this, but the vibe she's getting is that Shamea may feel like this is a lopsided friendship. And Shamea doesn't want to be looked at as Porsha's lapdog. And that Shamea is afraid to speak to Porsha about all of this. Yet she sat down with Angela and Drew, out of all people, and had a conversation about this with them. Also, in the after show, we find out that Drew and Angela confirmed that when they went to this dinner, Shamea basically asked them to pinky promise not to say anything, which makes this even more wild. Side-eyeing Shamea a lot in this, because I just don't understand why you would just not go to Porsha if that is your bestie. But while Angela is telling Porsha all this info, she gets super emotional. Porsha appears to be crying. She puts her fan in front of her face and is getting really, really emotional now. We didn't see no tears come out, but she got emotional by that. She was bothered by the fact that the group feels that Shamea is Porsha's lapdog. Then we move on to Drew talking to her life coach, who used to be her therapist, I think, Dr. Ken. We can skip by that. Nothing really happened. Drew was just recapping the fact that the ladies went out to dinner with Ralph and it was bothering her. And Dr. Ken was basically like, girl, stay strong. You're doing good. Don't let that get to you. We then finally get to the Pampered by Porsha event. Now, the event is super cute. They've got like different rooms where the ladies will be able to have their photo ops. It's like cute bedding in each room, Very sexy. I loved it. The event was super, super cute. They had hors d'oeuvres and they had black men serving the hors d'oeuvres. It was a whole vibe. Each of the ladies arrived in their sexy lingerie, and I believe they were all assigned a color because each of their colors is going to match some of the bedding that Porsha has for their photos and stuff like that. So all the ladies are in a separate color and they arrive looking great. They start with the massages, so they have a whole massage session and then they get into the photo shoot. Now, let's really get into the nitty-gritty. After the photo shoot is done, Shamea and Kelly are having a conversation. Kelly lets her know that she was disturbed by some of the comments Drew said that Shamea was Porsha's lapdog. So Drew is keeping this narrative going that Shamea is a lapdog. Then Kelly lets her know that Angela had spoken to Porsha and Porsha ended up being in tears about Shamea. And Shamea's like, why? And Kelly's like, because of you. And that Porsha was upset because Shamea is bringing stuff back to her way different than how it actually happens. And that she's upset that Shamea feels like she is up Porsha's SSA. So then after they chat and Kelly lets Shamea know all of this, Shamea is clearly bothered. Like, she ready to go. She don't even want to be at the event no more. It's time to go. Her energy is just completely off at this point, which is ironic because Porsha's sister Lauren is about to do a like guided meditation, yoga situation, and a sound bath. So Shamea has bad negative energy and they about to do this energy cleansing sound bath yoga situation. So as Lauren and the yoga instructor are going through this guided meditation and just guiding the ladies through it, everyone is laid down on their little mini bedding for this meditation, and Shamea is sitting straight up. Like, she is not participating at all. So I think Kelly can kind of see her in her peripheral view and is looking over and it's like, what is going on? So she gets up and goes to sit next to Shamea and they're whispering and she's like, girl, what's wrong? Why aren't you participating in the guided meditation? And Shamea says she's not at peace right now, so she don't want to participate. I'm not at peace. And I kind of feel her on that because once my mood is blown, like, I'm ready to go. I don't even want to do it no more. Let's move on. But her and Kelly just have a quick little sidebar. And they are talking during the meditation, which is a little rude. They're whispering, but they definitely are talking. And I guess they loud enough that Porsha, a few beds down, can hear them. So she's sitting up and she looking over like, basically like, why are y'all talking right now? Shh. And she literally shushes them. But it was a little rude. Like, y'all talking in the middle of this lady trying to do a guided meditation. Come on. Come on, Shamea. Like, be a good sport. Be a good sport. Now, once Lauren finishes doing the guided meditation, she says that they're about to do a sister circle where all the ladies can just kind of get anything off their chest. This is a safe space to do so. Angela starts and she says to Porsha that she appreciates the apology that Porsha gave her and that she really just wants to move forward and hopefully they can form some type of friendship. Porsha says she receives that and would like to move forward with Angela as well. So they seem to be on the same page of let's just move forward. Angela, I think right now is just playing one for the team for the sake of the show. Now, Kelly goes next and she gives kudos to Porsha and Shamea's friendship. She says she admires their friendship and how close they are. But see, this was the segue into Kelly really starting to SHIT. Because some may say this was messy, but I feel like it was good because it was forcing Shamea to really confront Porsha on her real feelings instead of going around the whole group saying how she feels. Kelly goes on to say that everyone feels like Shamea cannot really shine because Porsha is not really giving her the space to be her best self and have some of the spotlight on her. Porsha's a little caught off guard, but she says she receives what Kelly is saying and does not want Shamea to feel like that. But then Shamea cuts Porsha off like mid her saying that. Literally cuts her off. And Shamea's like, who said that? She's like, who said that? And she's kind of stuttering over it a little bit. And Porsha chimes in and says, Angela is the one who said that. That you went out to dinner and was basically saying how bad of a friend I am. Lauren then chimes in and asks Porsha how does that make her feel. And Porsha says it makes her feel like SHIT. And that she's a bad friend. And she clearly is bothered by that. Shamea then kind of lies and says that she never brings anything up to the group that she hasn't talked to or discussed with Porsha. But you kind of did do that, though. You went out to dinner with Angela and Drew, had a whole conversation about certain things you're bothered by in your friendship, but you haven't told Porsha that like today now. You may have talked to her about it years ago, but it's clearly still bothering you because you brought it up now. Shamea then adds that if people come to her about Porsha, she shuts that SHIT down. She's not entertaining it, which is true. She does shut that down. And Shamea feels like she's not getting that in return, and it's not being reciprocated. She kind of twisted and flipped this because the issue was really about you going to Angela and Drew, and now we kind of flipping it a little bit to where the issue is now you don't feel like Porsha's reciprocating your friendship. It's all over the place. Angela then decides to jump in and says that she thinks that Shamea is afraid to speak on these things that are really actually bothering her. Angela also adds that she would have never known that Porsha did not come to Shamea's wedding if Shamea hadn't told her or talked about it at the sit down with her and Drew. Then Shamea chimes in and is like, hold on, everybody knew that. It was on national TV that she didn't come to the wedding. But that's not really the point, Shamea. The point is, it would have never been a topic of conversation if you didn't bring it up, is really like what Angela's getting at. And she may have not known. She may not have been watching this show. Then Porsha jumps in and is like, I did not go to the wedding because me and you were beefing a few months beforehand. Shamea's like, hold on, when were we beefing? I don't recall this. I thought you couldn't go because you were sick. And they do show a hot mic moment where Candy was like, if Porsha don't want to come to the wedding, just say you don't want to come to the wedding. So back then, like 10 years ago, because Shamea's been married, no, it may not be a full 10 years. I think she's been married since 2017. So what, like 8 years ago? It was a topic of conversation then. Like, why would your best friend not be at your wedding? Weird, right? So I can see why that bothered Shamea, but is Shamea not really being 100 with Porsha? Like, that really is still bothering me. It's something that may not really be forgivable, to be honest. Shamea then interjects and is like, you never told me that. Like, you never told me you did not come to my wedding because we were beefing. Then Angela decides to interject. She's like, okay, Shamea, how are you feeling right now? Shamea then starts to get emotional. She does start to tear up a little bit and cry just a smidge, but she kind of, she brought it back up. Yeah, she's just like, I would never talk badly about Porsha. Then Porsha chimes in and is like, well, why are all y'all talking about our friendship? And Angela's like, it's on a silver platter for us to talk about. So we on a TV show. We're going to talk about it. Clearly it's an issue. It's issues there. And I feel like this new group of people is not going to just sit here and act like it's no real issues. Then as they start to wrap up, Lauren is like, Shamea, you have the floor. You have the floor to express how you're feeling. And Shamea says it's just a lot going on. It's a lot of hurt. And I'm just going to give grace in this situation. Porsha responds sarcastically and is like, well, thank you for the grace. And Shamea's like, see, she's being sarcastic. Like, you're not being genuine right now. And Porsha's over it. She's like, it's cool. I'm a piece of SHIT. It's cool. And that's how the scene wraps, y'all. That's how the scene wraps. So, yeah, y'all, that was the end of the episode. It was pretty juicy this week. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it. Definitely will be excited to see next week because I know they're going to get more into the nitty-gritty of Porsha and Shamea's friendship falling out. So, next week's going to be good for sure. But this week was good. This week was a good episode. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Was Shamea doing too much? Was she being fake to Porsha? How do y'all feel about them sitting down with Ralph, Drew's estranged husband? And is Angela the bone collector? Let me know. Let me know what y'all thinking. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tap that bell so you get a notification on when I post and upload. And I will see y'all in my next video.